21 Russian airlines have been added to a list of carriers barred from entering EU airspace by regulators in Brussels. Commission chiefs say it's due to safety breaches and not directly in response to the war in Ukraine. It means many more Russians will be unable to holiday in some of their favourite destinations this summer. And that's having a knock-on effect on the tourism industry, just as Europe looks forward to its first full holiday season out of lockdown. We're joined now by Andrew Charlton from the airline consultancy Aviation, Advocacy. Good to see you, Andrew. Thanks for coming on. Which destinations are we talking about here? How big is their exposure to the Russian tourism market?
The Mediterranean coast, the south of France, Italy, Croatia are enormously exposed to the Russian market. I guess if I lived on the Russian steppes or east of Moscow, I would look forward to spending a few weeks in the hot Mediterranean sun and swimming in the ocean in the summer. So it will have a serious effect for European Mediterranean countries. Interestingly, the Mediterranean country that it won't have an effect on is Turkey, and indeed Turkey is now gearing up to try to capitalise on as much of that market as it possibly can by setting up charter services and by bringing in extra aircraft to bring Russian customers, Russian passengers down into the Turkish resort towns along the Mediterranean coast from Istanbul across, of course.
I want to talk a little bit more about Turkey in a moment, but let's talk about what these resorts do, how they've invested to lure those Russian visitors. What's the draw of those places you mentioned?
Apart from heat and sea, that'll get you there most of the time, I think. And the fact that it's different. The investment in the tourism industry in those communities is enormous. If you go to even, and I mean this with no disrespect, even small cities in Croatia like Pula, and go to Pula airport, every second sign is written in Russian. There are Russian translators, there are Russian-based restaurants, no doubt the vodka sales go through the ceiling. There are huge investments in attracting and retaining Russian and Ukrainian, indeed it's got to be said, guests for that entire time, and across Italy, certainly at the north of Italy and around then through to Slovenia and then Croatia. There are huge crowds and huge numbers of Russians come in. It's very difficult to order. It's easier to order a meal in northern Italy in the summer in Russian than it is in Italian.
So we're just coming out of the pandemic. It's probably the first full holiday season for many of these resorts. If they're thinking, OK, our Russian clients, our Ukrainian customers, there's maybe going to be a squeeze on that, which markets might they turn to make sure they still bring in those important tourism revenues?
That's a great question. The one thing that we have seen, it's obviously the last 2 years have been beyond horrific for not just the airlines, but for the tourism industry. What we are seeing at the moment, and you're seeing it with chaos at airports all over Europe, is that the market all this pent-up demand is being released incredibly quickly. And there seems to be a lot of people who think that they've missed 3 or 4 even holidays over the last couple of years, and they're determined to take those holidays. So from a tourism perspective, I hope that the rest of Europe rises to the bait and goes to some of these countries as well. And in fact, if it is somewhat less crowded than normal, then that would be another attraction, one assumes. The other issue, of course, even for Turkey, though, I think I should get in, is, as we were hearing in the report before, the sanctions on the Russian economy are starting to bite. So even if Turkey and other places have opened their doors to Russian guests, that's assuming, of course, that the sanctions work in such a way, that the sanctions fail to work in such a way that the guests still have money to be able to come and take a holiday.
Andrew Charlton from Aviation Advocacy, thank you very much for your insights.
Always a pleasure.